Miss R. Sarasu. Assistant Professor R. Sarasu is an assistant head of the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Dhanalakshmi Srinivasan College of Engineering and Technology, Mamallapuram, Chennai. She has 7 years of teaching experience for undergraduate and postgraduate students. She has also served as head of the Department of Information and Technology for 2 years. She has been teaching in the area of data structures, computer architecture, design and analysis of algorithm, internet programming, advanced computer architecture, information security, soft computing, system software, web technology, and advanced Java programming. She has attended various workshops and many faculty development programs. She has also presented papers in national and international conferences. She has comprehensive problem-solving ability and good communication skill with a strong inclination for teaching. Her research interests are web data mining, web data extraction, and semantic information retrieval.
Welcome to UGC lecture series in computer science. Today we are going to see series of lectures on web technology for the students studying in semester 6, paper 15. Unit 1 web technology covers internet basics, introduction to HTML, list, frames, tables and the CSS. Today we are going to see series of lecture on HTML and which has a concept called frames. Today outline of the lectures are how to create the frames, tag used to create the frames, attributes of the frames, floating frames and advantage and disadvantage of using HTML. Let us see what is mean by frames. So, since HTML is a static used to create static web pages, it will not be interactive. So, to make the web page interactive, we are going to divide the web pages into frames. So, with this frame we can display more interactive information by displaying hyperlinks, more than one hyperlinks inside the frames. So, when we want to display the web page in section wise, we are going in for frames. So, frames are used to display the information by splitting the web page by sections. So, it helps the browser to divide the screen, that is web page is being divided into windows. We can use hyperlink within this frame. So, after dividing the web page and in each frame we can display the hyperlink which will make the web page more interactive. It is very easy to design by with the help of frame set tag. So, we can view the information in different web pages by splitting the web pages into windows. So, frames are used to split the web page into windows or divisions or sections. So, inside each section we can display the information with the help of hyperlinks or static informations. So, an entire page has been divided into 3 sections, the first part into row and the second part into column and then row. So, we have divided the frames into 3 sections. Here one section, this is the second section and this is the third section, and in each frame we can display the information. Since it is a HTML is a tag based system, we are going to use frame set tag for constructing the frames or to divide the web pages into frames. So, the frame set tag is used to define the various frames in the web pages. The frame specified where it should be displayed and size, which row height and column height. That is, here we are divided the web pages into column first and then row. So, the size specifies the row size or column size. It also contains the web pages where the frames should be displayed. So, the frame set tag will contain the size and location, that is which frame the hyperlink should be displayed and the size of the frame and the what information should be displayed there in the frames. So, the frame set tag syntax is frame set rows, row height. This rows is a attribute for frame set. So, we can have more than one row in our web page, or we can have more than one column in our web page. So, to divide the web pages into frames, we can divide by column wise or row wise, but we have to specify the width and height of the rows and columns. So, for example, this is an HTML frame where we have divided a web page into two parts, and the first part 20% and the second part 80%. That is, first part is been small and the second part of the section, that is frame, is 80%, and each frame we are linking the files. So, the source attribute specifies the file to be displayed, the hyperlink to be displayed. So, we have divided our web pages into two frames, the first frame with link1.html and the second frame with display.html. Here the web page has been divided into column wise. So, 20% and 80%. So, this is an example for frame tag. Let us execute a program for frame set tag. So, this is the web page and I have two columns, and first one of 20% and second one of 80%. So, this is a main frame which is been divided into two frames. So, first part and second part. We can also display the give the information by hyperlinks also. So, I have embedded hyperlinks inside the frame. So, let us see the source code for this frame set. The frames contains two parts, one is of 20%, another of 80%. So, we will see here the frames have been divided into two parts, one of 25% and the next of the remaining percent, that is asterisk define the remaining space in the web page. So, 25% we are specifying the column should be in 25% and the next column is of any size, that is the remaining web page should be, the space should be given by this star. So, this asterisk can be used to specify the remaining page, or sometimes we can give equal page by giving this asterisk also. So, frame set calls, frame set is a tag and calls is an attribute, and this is the height, the height 25% and star represent the remaining part of the web page. So, we have divided this web pages into two frames, and the one thing we have to note it down is we should not give the frames inside the body part of the HTML. We have to give the frame set inside the head part of the HTML, that is head portion of the HTML or head section of the HTML, not in body section. So, let us move on to the slides for seeing the attributes for frames. We have attributes such as rows and columns, which we have seen now, and scrolling attribute, margin height and width attribute, source and target attributes. Let us see the first attribute, rows and columns. As I said, which portion we want to divide by column wise or row wise, and the column value and row values should be specified by this row and col attribute. So, it is used to specify the width and height value of the frame which we are dividing. So, the height and width values can be specified by three ways, one by direct values, that is pixels, or by percentage, or the total size of the frame set by asterisk. So, see this example, the frame set has been divided into two rows, one is of size 160 and the remaining space whatever it is being considered as a second frame. So, next example is asterisk, asterisk and asterisk. This represents the equal frame size. The browser will display the frames with equal size when the asterisk has been specified in the attributes rows or columns. Next is the percentage, which we have seen in the example. We can give percentage, pixels or by asterisk ways. The next attribute is scrolling attribute. As we have seen, we can display the information in the web pages inside the frames with the help of hyperlinks. while clicking on the hyperlinks, the hyperlinks can contain more information which cannot be viewed by the user when clicking on it or seeing at glance. So, to see the entire information, we can use this scroll bars to view the entire information present in the particular frame. So, it is used to display when the content of source page cannot fit into the frame. When the frame size is small and the content is large, we cannot view the content. So, to view the content, we can specify it by with the help of scrolling attribute. So, how to specify the scrolling attribute? The syntax is frame, source and the URL which hyperlink we are going to link and the scrolling. So, when we give the scrolling attribute as scrolling within this double quotes specifies there is a scrolling bar available in the frames. So, that we can move on to the scrolling bar to view the information behind that. So, the next information is margin, height and width. So, when we want to specify the content of the web page and the frame border, the space between these two things can be adjusted with the help of this margin, height and width attribute. The margins are used to display the contents such as text and images from running into the frame borders. With it is to view the all the information present in that web page, we can use this to adjust the border and we can view the information. So, the same way as the previous attribute frame, source, URL, the URL to be linked and the margin height value and margin width value. So, we can specify the value here for displaying the margins. So, let us see an example for this attribute. In this web page, we have divided the web pages into two rows. So, the previous thing we have divided the frames into two columns and this web page is being divided into two frames and the first frame with the appearance of scrolling. So, we can view the information by scrolling this. Suppose this content is large, we cannot view it, we can view it by giving the margin or the scrolling bars to view the content present in that particular frames or the particular section. That is, scrolling attribute should be specified. We have seen the scrolling attribute and how to use scrolling attribute. We will see the rest of the attributes after the break. Welcome back after the break. Before the break, we are discussing about the frames, how to create the frames using frame tag and the attributes of frame. We have executed two examples for frames, how to divide the frames into rows and column, how to set margin, height and width and how to set scrolling. Let us see an example for scrolling. So, scrolling is used to view the web pages, that is used to view the web page content. So, this is an web page which is being divided into two frames, one is by row wise, this is first row and the second row. So, when the content is not visible, then within the frame, then scrolling can be added. So, I have added the scrolling here to view the information. So, this is a scrolling area where we have added the scrolling attribute. So, we can see the coding for this scrolling attribute. So, we have added the scrolling attribute here. I have divided the web page into two rows, first of 50% and another of 50%. In this two rows, I have added the files, that is hyperlinks with the help of source attribute. So, this src attribute specify which file to be linked and I have added scrolling attribute as yes and the margin and height and width values. So, this scrolling is given as, then the scrolling bar will be added to view the information present in the web page or when the web page is being clicked with the hyperlink. So, this is an example for scrolling attribute. So, let us move on to see the next attribute, margin height and width. So, this margin height and width attribute is used to specify the spacing between the content of the web page and the frame border. So, we can set by using margin height value and width value, what we have seen in the previous example in scrolling. So, we can give the values to specify the margin height and width. So, the next attribute is hyperlink. Since we are dividing the entire web page into frames, we can display each frame a link, that is hyperlink. So, when we want to specify the hyperlink, we can use source attribute, that is frame source the URL link, or we can specify with href attribute, etc. So, when the web page has been divided into frames and each frame can able to display more than one hyperlinks. So, hyperlinks can be specified by using the source attribute, and we have so many frames inside our web page, in which frame the hyperlink should be displayed. To identify the frame or to give the identifier for a particular frame, we can give the name of the frame. So, this frame name specify the which frame the hyperlink should be opened, or we can specify which frame the hyperlink should be displayed by using the inbuilt attribute of frame called as target. So, when the user clicks on an hyperlink, in which place the hyperlink page, that is a particular web page, should be opened. We have several values for target attributes. The 4 important values are blank, self, parent and top. The blank attribute specifies it will load the hyperlink in a new unnamed window, and self attribute specifies load the corresponding hyperlink in the current frame, and parent attribute specifies load the link over the parent frame, and top specifies loads a link in the top frame of the window, overall frame of the window. So, these are all the target attributes. So, where it should be displayed, when the user clicks on the hyperlink, in which frame in which frame or which target area the hyperlink should be opened. So, the syntax for this frame is that is we can give within hyperlink with the source attribute, or we can give with href, that is a tag is an anchor tag which is used to refer the URL, that is href. So, URL the hyperlink should be open, and which frame we can give frame name, that is name of the frame in which frame we have to open this hyperlink, or instead that we can give this target values blank, self, parent and top. This is user specified frame name, this is inbuilt specified target values. So, this target attribute is used to specify in which frame or in which place or location to open the particular hyperlink or an web page. Next concept is nesting of frames. Up to this we have seen only frames which has been divided into one frame, one column or two columns, or only we have seen one frames have been divided into columns or rows. So, nesting of frames is an part of frames in which we can divide the entire frames into 2 or more frames. That is, for example, first the web page has been divided into 2 columns with the 200 and asterisk, and next has been divided into 100 and asterisk, that is this column has been divided into 2 rows again. So, this frame set tag, first frame set has been divided into 2 rows again. So, first we are linking links.html inside this calls attribute, and next header.html and display.html in this row attribute. So, one frame is being divided into another frame, and the subsequent hyperlinks have been displayed. So, nesting of frame is dividing the frames into more than one frames. So, we are embedding one frame into the another frame is called nesting of frames. Even though the frames are used to display the hyperlinks or to divide the web pages into more sections, it has some disadvantages. The limitations are the browser have to load multiple HTML files, that is we have seen. So, in the previous example we have three HTML files which is to be loaded while the running this program. When web page construction we need to link more than 100 or hyperlinks, then the browser has to load all these hyperlinks when the program is running. So, the browser has a difficulty to load all this HTML files while running that particular frame program. So, this is a basic disadvantage of hyperlinks. Next, the disadvantage is some older browser cannot support frames. Some versions version compatibility is not there to support this frames, and frames occupies valuable screen space. Since we are dividing, after dividing we cannot able to change that space or adjust the space, right. So, it is a basic disadvantage of frames, and we have seen up to this frames and how to divide the frames and attributes and the nesting of frames. Next type of frame is an iframes, or called as floating frames. So, here you see the difference. This is an iframe where it has been embedded or it been emerged from the screen. So, this is a normal frame which is not being emerged, and this is a floating frame, it has been emerged. So, this is also a type of frame. It is also a frame which is used to divide the web pages into sections, but iframe some appearance will be there. So, we can specify iframes using the tag iframe tag. Let us see a program for this, it will be clear for understanding purpose. So, this is an iframe coding. So, we can specify the iframes with the help of the tag iframes. So, iframe source a.html height 50%. So, this is the frame iframes. So, the iframes are also called as floating frames. So, we can conclude this frame session, and let us see the advantages of HTML. So, as we have seen, it is very loose, it is easy to use, and it has loose syntax, and that is we can give use both uppercase and lowercase letters for while writing the tags, and it is supported by almost every browser. For running this HTML program, there is no need to buy any software. We can download the browsers directly from the net and we can use it. So, it is a basic advantage of HTML. No need to buy a separate software for running this HTML. For non-programmers, we can easily able to learn this code. Since this is a tag, we can able to remember some tags to create the web pages, and non-programmers can easily create the web pages. So, these are all the advantages of HTML. So, it is very easy to use, and we can easily download the browser from net instead buying it. So, no need to separate software to be bought for running this HTML. So, next is non-programmers can easily create the web pages with the help of tags. So, even though it has strong advantages, it has also weakness. So, let us see the disadvantages of HTML. Since HTML is a static web page, we cannot able to dynamically give the input. That is, once the web page has been created, we cannot able to modify the values until we move on to source code to modify the values. At runtime, that is execution time, there is no modification done by HTML. So, it is a basic disadvantage of HTML. So, the scientists had developed script to make the HTML more interactive. Next disadvantage is the non-programmers or programmers, they should strictly follow the standard tags used in HTML. While creating the web pages, we will use tags. So, each and every tag should be remembered by the user to create the web page. tags and their syntax should be followed while writing the HTML program by both programmers as well as non-programmers. And no security features, that is we are creating the forms, we can enter values, that is web forms, that is while entering some values inside the forms created by the HTML program, this form values can be sent to the server without encrypting or some encrypting. So, the users or the hackers, other users or hackers can easily access this information submitted by this form. So, this is a security issue of HTML. So, when the user has been submitted some details, the hackers can easily get the values before it is moving on to the server. So, this is the basic disadvantage of HTML. So, it produces static output, not dynamic output, and every syntax of standard tags should be remembered, and then no security features available in HTML. So, let us see summarize this session. What we have seen? We have seen creating the frames and tags used to create the frames, and attributes of frames. We have seen attributes of frames such as rows and columns, width and height, margin width and height, name attribute, target attribute, source attribute. So, these are all the attributes required to create the frames, and we have also seen nesting of frames, that is how to nest one frame within another frame or embed one frame within another frame. And we have seen the iframes is a type of frame which have the different appearance and normal frame, and the advantages and disadvantages of frames, and we have finally seen about advantages and disadvantages of a language, hypertext markup language, that is HTML. So, let us pose some questions for understanding purpose. What is the advantages of using frames? What is the disadvantage, and how to create the frames using frame set tag? How to adjust the size of the frames using attributes, and design a frame for online web application, and what are all the attributes of frame tag? How to display the frames using target attributes? What is the strength and weakness of HTML? With this, we conclude this session on HTML. We will see cascading style sheets in the next session. Thank you.